What is going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. Of course, I'm your host, Marcus McCoy. We have a great show for you all today. We're going to be talking about persistence, just grinding, of course, motivation. We're going to be joined by none other than Mr. Joseph Runals. He is a realtor for Tropicana Homes, and he's going to share his phenomenal story, information about the industry that he's in, and things of that nature. So without further ado, we would like to introduce Mr. Joseph Runals to the show.
Hey, Marcus.
How you doing? Thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Definitely excited about this. I know this has been in the making for a while. We've had several conversations. Good afternoon, Vanessa Moore. We've had several conversations about doing this, man. I know you have a great story, one of perseverance, one of progress, one of overcoming. But without any further ado, can you tell the listeners about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'll just say a little bit about me. I'm originally from Michigan, so I'm not originally from El Paso. And I've been in El Paso for about 3 years, and I love El Paso. El Paso has been very good to me, and I think this is a wonderful city with wonderful people. So I'm very blessed to be a part of El Paso today. Little about me, I'm an avid chess player, critical thinker. I love real estate, of course, which I'm sure we'll dive into that. Huge dog fan, and I have 3 dogs. I was going to stop at 2, and then I rescued one dog, and then he was dying, starving on the street, and I don't think he would have lived if I wouldn't have brought him in. And so I was going to rehome him, and then he ended up becoming my best friend. So I've got 3 dogs. So big dog guy, and big cigar smoker. I enjoy a good cigar. I lived out in Miami for a handful of years, and Padron cigars were a big hit out there, and so that's one of my favorite cigars to enjoy on a special day. So
okay, definitely. So that means we gotta take each other up on the offer. This is an open invitation. We're gonna go to a cigar lounge one day, man, and have some good conversations, some great cigars. What do you say about that, brother?
Let's do it. Absolutely, I'm all in, Marcus.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right, so we definitely, we want to go into this conversation and discuss, what it is you do for a living. But before you dive into that, what is the industry like? What is the industry that you're in? What is that like? And I'm assuming that just from being on the outside looking in, it has to be very competitive. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Great question, Marcus. So real estate, it is a competitive industry. I think there's a lot of videos out on YouTube showing people saying you're going to get rich overnight. And I think a lot of people see those videos and everybody wants to jump into it, but that is not the reality of real estate. Real estate, it's one of those things that if you choose to take that career path, it takes time. It takes, perseverance. It takes some hard work, and you may not see a dollar for, a while. So you've got to be prepared to go through, it's a good amount of time before you ever get paid. So you might have to work for free. It's a challenging industry, but it's a wonderful industry. And, as far as the industry goes, I think here in El Paso, I think what's happening in El Paso is unbelievable. And I'm so fortunate and blessed to have came here to be a part of the growth of El Paso. I'm sure a lot of people, I don't know if, what part of town you're from, but whether you're on the west side, the northeast, the east side, houses are being thrown up fast. People are coming from all over the country. It's still affordable in a lot of places in America. I mean, I think the average price of a house is like 450,000 nationwide. And here it's like probably about 250, 300. So, it's just a great market. And I'm really, really happy to be a part of El Paso's market.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I live on the west side, by the way, just so you know. So, I just want
Awesome.
to say shout out to the west side.
Shout out. Yeah.
All right. So, what advice would you give when talking to people that are, that may be interested in buying a home, whether it be a first-time buyer or somebody who's, purchased a home before? What would be some of the advice you would give those people?
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to really drill down to what your personal needs are when you're buying a home. I mean, for most people, it's the biggest purchase they're ever going to make. So you got to ask yourself, what is the purpose of the home? If you're a single guy, do you have plans of, I don't know, maybe one day getting married and having kids, and you plan on staying in that home for 10 years? Well, then, maybe you should get a 3 or 4 bedroom, and that's spacious enough to accommodate those things. If you've already got a family, you want to ask yourself, what's nearby for the kids? Is there things, are there, does this area where I'm about to move into, does it have special things such as like a playground that can accommodate our kids? Or maybe if you have kids that are a little bit older and they're in high school, is there a college nearby? I mean, location is everything in real estate. So that's a big one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for some people, another thing too is I'll say, what do you want? Do you want a 1-story, a 2-story? Some people, it's an inconvenience to be walking up and down the stairs all the time. So they'd prefer a 1-story.
Especially if you're older, or you may be, if you're up in age, or you might be dealing with some type of ailments, that's something definitely to consider.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and then for others, a 2-story is kind of a luxury in a sense, especially if it has a balcony and you have views of the mountains, things like that, it can be so it's really, really what I usually try to do when I'm working with clients and customers. I'm trying to find out what's important to you, because we want to make sure. And then I also want to find out how long do you plan on staying in this house? And just trying to get to know them and understand their needs. That way I can better kind of direct them to the appropriate house.
Okay. That is awesome. So what do you feel like? I love this question too. From your industry, right? What do you think people feel, or what aspects of your industry do you feel people are, misinformed or uninformed about? Because again, on the outside looking in, there's many things that I think about, your particular industry, but I'm not in it, right? So, we make assumptions and speculations, but what would be your answer to that question?
Yeah, that's a good one, Marcus. So I'm also a licensed mortgage loan originator. Okay. And I know that there's a lot of people who started to get a bit concerned, and rightfully so. I understand, because what happened is interest rates started to spike up. So, I think the country got very spoiled when we had 2 to 3% interest rates. Like that was the lowest I think it's ever been. Well, I know it's ever been. But when you look at the charts and you look at interest rates and you track what was happening, so the national historic average is 8%. Interest rates started to creep up to about 7.25, and a lot of people were like, I don't know if now's the time to buy. Mm-hmm. And understandably, I understand that, but in my opinion, I believe that as long as you're under 8%, you're doing good. Okay. I think you're still doing good. More than that, what a lot of new home construction builders are doing is they're already giving you incentives to buy that interest rate down. So, I mean, you could get it, and it depends, a little disclaimer, because interest rates change on a daily basis. But For example, like today, I believe it's 6.75%. With my company, Tropicana Homes, if you were to finance through Patriot Mortgage, you could get that as low as like 5.6%. I mean, you could maybe even get it a little bit lower, only because we're willing to give up to 6% seller concession, which is basically free money that we're going to buy that rate down for you. So you don't have to lock in at this high, 7.25 or whatever, the par rate would be. You can get that down and still get a good mortgage on your home. So that's a lot. That's something that a lot of people, I don't think they know. And I encourage people to look into new construction in times like this. Now, new construction is the way to go, 100%.
I mean, that's great advice, and I'm assuming that there's probably a lot of people out there that probably they don't know that that information out there that it exists. You
Yeah.
know, another thing I always say about you in the conversations we had, man, is you're extremely passionate. When I say extremely passionate, like I love it, man. I love our conversation, man, because you can just tell that you absolutely you have a great love for what it is you do for a living. So I
Yes.
know you're passionate about your job, right?
Yes.
So where exactly does that come from? That type of passion that you have for what you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, hmm. Well, I would say, I keeping it real. I know what it's like to struggle, and I've had times where it's hard. You're going through tough times financially and whatnot, and and I remember being young and just like feeling like, man, I don't have any money. I'm broke. It's a tough time, and seeing other guys who are getting into real estate, and not just real estate sales, but also the investment side. That's something that I really want to tap into because of the potential of real estate. I think everybody should think about real estate as an option for retirement. It's, I think everybody, if you can, you should buy a house, rent it out. There's a huge rental market, you know, um, and I just feel like, there's always a demand for that. You can do that. And then one day, you can cash out on that house and you have, you know, hopefully all this equity, and you have a nice nest egg that you can retire from. So a lot of people think retirement only comes from 401k, it only comes from stocks and bonds, but real estate is a great option to go to. It's a great way to go. So, I did do a couple of investments, and I made out pretty good on them. I flipped a couple of houses and I did pretty well with it. So it's a real neat niche to get into. And I just remember seeing a lot of people as I was growing up who were doing that, and they ended up quitting their jobs and going full time into it, and taking vacations and spending time with their kids and their family, and it just seemed like something clicked to me. And I said, maybe this is the route I should go to. So, but that's, on the practical side. Personally, though, I will say, if you don't mind me sharing, Marcus, you know, I had, everybody goes through trials in life. Everyone has challenges. I had made not always the best choices in my youth, unfortunately, and found myself in a pretty difficult position where I was homeless and I had bad credit, and it was just kind of a mess, and so I was able to build up out of that and pull myself out of that instead of give up. And this is a message for those who think, if you think your credit is bad and you can't ever buy a house, I just want to tell you that's not true. You can. You absolutely can. And I did it personally. My credit score was in the gutter. It was in the gutter. I couldn't afford to pay bills. Things were falling apart. It was tough. And I do believe in credit repair. I think credit repair is a good tool you can use. I was able to take that route. I did do credit repair and bring my credit back up, and so, like, my message here is really just to those who are struggling. don't believe that they can achieve the American dream of home ownership, I'm just here to tell you, you can. There's a roadmap that you can take no matter where you're at in life. And I believe in that personally because I've been through it. I've been through it. So that's where my passion really comes from, Marcus, is, I know that it is possible for not just it's happened for me, it can happen for others. So.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, and for those who are watching or listening or however you want to frame it, that's the initial conversation that me and Joseph had. It kind of turned into that. I've been following some things he had been doing in his profession. The guy is definitely a class act, and I felt like he shared this story with me the first time we ever had a conversation, and I just felt compelled, like these are. Everybody loves a story of triumph of somebody overcoming. And I felt, the first time he told me the story, I was just like, man, like that man, and he'll tell you himself. I said, that's an amazing story. Would you please be willing to come on the show and tell that story? Because there's probably there has to be many other people who have had that same experience. They might be currently going through the experience. It's no secret that El Paso has a very huge homeless population. We see people in the El Paso community that are homeless on a day-to-day basis. And so if Joseph can do it, why can't you, or why can't anybody? So, I just wanted to make sure, I put that out there to let where we're coming from. The other thing is, Joseph, you have a podcast as well too, right?
I do.
Can you tell the people about your podcast and where to follow it in?
Sure. Yeah. So the podcast is called The Authentic Podcast. Real people, real stories, all about real estate. And that's a great plug there because if I've actually interviewed a wonderful individual named Dahlia Flint from Flint Consultants, and she talks all about credit repair. I've interviewed investors, I've interviewed other realtors, Christian Barnes, just some phenomenal people with amazing stories. You just listen to some of those episodes, and if you want to break into the real estate market, that's a good place to start. You'll hear a lot of good little nuggets of gold.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I've been one of the listeners. I've been tuning in, man. Nice. Some amazing content. I want to tell you personally, man. Look, just keep doing what you're doing. You are inspiring. You're educating people. I feel like that's one of our main goals. Should be one of our main goals in life is that we aspire to inspire. So by doing this, we're inspiring maybe the next generation or the younger generation of people to come and. I wouldn't say following our footsteps because I believe in being a trailblazer because you got to make your own path. But at least there could be some tangible tools along the way to say, hey, well, you know what? He went left or she went left, and that didn't necessarily work out the best for him. So you know what? Based on that, I'm gonna go right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so,
yeah. Go ahead.
My philosophy is, I do believe, for me personally, there is no better reward than to watch someone come up, and like that's why I talk about, my story, only because I know there's people out there, who are going through it. And I just, I'm an open book, they can reach out to me. I will do whatever I can to see people succeed. I believe that is my purpose on this earth, is to try and, if as I grow and things get good, I got to give back, man. It can't be about me. I've got to give back to others. I want to see others succeed. I want to see others come through, and real estate's possible for everyone. So just takes some hard work. It does take hard work.
That's how I know me and you we were meant to link up and be on the same page, because I feel that same way. I told somebody this morning, we just get blessed with so many different things, right? Like, and I'll be the first to say, and this is me just being fully transparent. I told my friend the same thing this morning. I said, man, I've been blessed. God's blessed me with a lot of different things. And I said, honestly, I know I don't deserve all that grace, but for some reason, he still provides it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel
Absolutely.
Like when we know that we have the obligation to give back and make it better for somebody else. You know, not necessarily because they might have been in the same situation or they come from the same struggles that we come from, but I just think that's the right thing to do, you know, as a person. You know, we're here to aid and assist one another, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, Marcus.
I think that's what it should be. Now we you know, you kind of mentioned struggle. So let me ask this question. Do you feel you would be who you are and where you are right now if you did not have those struggles?
Wow. You know, Marcus, I've made a lot of mistakes. I wish I could have avoided them and been smart enough to recognize, have the wisdom to, you know, do things differently. But to address your question, no, I am fully convinced I needed to go through every trial that life has thrown at me. Um, and it was tough, you know, but I kind of feel like if you do things the right way and you handle life the right way without going to, you know, other things that can be detrimental to your life, and you have faith. I'm like you, Marcus. I have faith. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I believe faith has carried me through a lot of these things. And I grew. You know, I've grown. I'm not. I remember being younger. I was, you know, it's kind of wild that I'm even sitting on this podcast with you. You know, I was the shyest kid. You know, I just had so many things that I didn't feel like I fit in and all sorts of things. And today I'm just a different person. You know, I'm just a different person. I look at people differently. I value relationships. I operate out of love instead of, you know, being selfish, you know, ambition. I'm just a different person. I'm not a perfect person, but I do look at everything I've went through and I say, thank God that I had the privilege to go through it, you know, because man, it's strengthened my faith. It's just, there's blessings on the other side. You just got to get through to the other side. And yeah.
I definitely agree with that because I say the same thing, man. Like sometimes I can't believe I'm a podcaster either because look, I don't think I became who I am until I probably was about, I'm gonna say maybe 23.
Yeah.
In middle school, I was really shy. I didn't talk a whole lot. You know, people meet me now, they're like, man, you've been like this your whole life. No, I have not. I was very quiet. I was super nerdy. No disrespect to nerdy people, because there's nothing wrong being nerdy.
Yeah.
We just have this stigma sometimes that people put these things in perspective or put it in a box according to how they feel, and then now because they feel that way is law, and now that type of person is not accepted. I wore glasses in middle school and high school. Luckily, thank God, my vision got better when I got in my 20s, and then now I'm in my 40s. It went back to bad, so now I'm wearing the glasses again. But I think what you said and what I'm saying is a true testament of the evolution of a person. Is that how you start out is not going to be necessarily how you finish. People grow, we adapt, we evolve, we get smarter, we learn new things. We invite some great people into our lives, and sometimes some not so great people, but they all play a part in our evolution as a person. So I definitely am appreciative for that as well. So for you, what determines, and I really want to hear this answer from you, just because of your personality, but also because of the industry that you work in. But for you, what determines success or failure?
Oh man, I love these questions, Marcus. For me, my thoughts on that is, you know, I used to think success was just, you know, having materials and money. I don't think that way as much. I think that's a byproduct of, to me, success is character, having good character. And I believe that those things could be a byproduct. Maybe, I'm not saying it will be, but it could be a byproduct of just trying to be a good person, you know, and having, you know, focusing on your character. It kind of, I've seen people take different paths to success. And I've seen some, and I go, I don't really like what I'm seeing with the way they do business, the way they treat people. There's no character there, man. It's just, pure nasty motives. And I don't want to be that way. I can't be that way. I don't believe that's a very healthy way to operate through life. And then I've seen others who, they're patient, they treat others well. They just have built and grown through circumstances. And I go, I want that. I want that kind of character. I want to be that kind of a person. I want to be a person who genuinely helps others, regardless of whether there's a paycheck or not. I'm just here because, I want to see you do good. And that's the kind of person I want to be. That's the way I want to operate my line of work. And so, I think to answer your question, I think it's really being a successful person is just building character and taking the high road when others are not. That's what I think success is.
So that segue me. That's a segue into my next question. You kind of talked about taking a high road, and I'm gonna revert this back because there was a comment that I saw. It was like a week ago, and I think it's really fitting. All right, we talked about struggle, we talked about perseverance. Now, in your struggles, was there ever a time that maybe you felt that people counted you out, or you counted yourself out? And then I'm gonna add this to it to add a little more context to it. I feel like I'm always gonna make myself the constant underdog. That's me, right? But sometimes people in my life have made me the underdog too. It hasn't just solely been in my mind. And so there was a football player named Geno Smith, and he plays for the Seattle. He's a quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. He's had a kind of up and down career. He's bounced around, been in some different places, right? But he was doing an interview, and I swear to me, it was like the realest thing ever. He said that yeah, they wrote me off, but I didn't write back.
Huh.
So
Wow.
what are your thoughts? I know it's a lot, but I feel like we're gonna dive into something really deep with that.
Well, yeah, I operate with one, I operate with God in mind. Okay. The opinions of others, I'd take so personally. Somebody could have just came up to me and said, you're stupid, and I would have believed it. And I would have carried myself like, this is how I used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have, put my head down and given up because, whatever, little things like that. The opinions of others today, it doesn't matter what others think or say of me. I operate for God, really is kind of like the classic cliche, how people say like, God is my judge,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I operate. I do the best I can every day from the moment I wake up to say, the actions I take today, is this going to bring honor and glory to, God, which like I said, I am a man of faith. So I hope I'm not crossing any boundaries by bringing that out, but
oh no. Hey, look, no, this is real talk, Mark. We're gonna keep it real on here.
Yeah. And so, I've had people that, I've loved, people who meant a lot in my life, write me off, and it was really hurtful, and I sulked in it. But when you know who you are and you understand your purpose here on this earth, man, like, you don't have time to listen to that negativity. You got to get up and keep going and do the best you can, and I used to just let these negative words from others just weigh me down, So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Oh, it absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I love having these type of conversations because everybody has a different opinion or outlook on a specific question or whatever. So that was definitely I could feel that because at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, like none of us do it, and not to get all spiritual for everybody who's listening, but like I know wholeheartedly, man, without God, none of this stuff is possible because there's been some things that happened in my life that I know that I should have been gone.
Yeah.
Like as in not be able to sit here to have this conversation as in off the face of the earth. And
Yeah.
God just spared me, man. Provided, I'm an army guy. I spent uh 8 years in the army. I've been to Iraq, Iran, Syria, and I've seen and done some things in this lifetime, but again, I know that without God, I just wouldn't be here, so
Can I just pause real quick and I just want to say thank you for your service, by the way, Marcus.
thank you, Joseph. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that, brother.
Yeah. No, I'm so blessed to be in this country, the United States of America, and thanks to guys like you. So thank you.
I appreciate it. So as we bring the show to a close, first and foremost, man, I want to definitely thank you, for coming on, man, sharing your story, your knowledge, your expertise. I hope that the people that watched it and the people who are going to go back and watch it and repeat it, that they gain something from it because I definitely did. I have a different perspective on what you do for a living, some of the ins and outs of if maybe I want to purchase a home on the west side. I'm definitely gonna get with you because it's high over here.
Yeah.
But what's one thing before we get out of here? What's one thing you want to leave the listeners with?
Yeah. Well, I would have to say to just know that every single person, no matter where you're at in life, you have a purpose. And once you find that purpose, to just stick with it and just chase after it with everything you have, no matter how hard things get difficult. Because if that's your calling, that's what you're supposed to do, and I believe that, yeah, man, I just stick with it, never give up. That's my message.
Absolutely, great message. So for me, I'm gonna echo Joseph's sentiments. This is pretty much the same thing. Struggles are a part of life, and we have to go through ups and downs to eventually become the people we are. Ultimately to have the level of success that we will encounter. I used to when I was in the military, and the guys who are in the military, and maybe some other people probably relate to it. Is if I had a leader, and a leader was trying to, I guess, steer me from going down maybe like the wrong path. It would be much more believable and I would be much more engaged if I knew that leader had also had some struggle in his life or her life as well, because it's coming from a place of realness and being authentic is organic because they experienced that. So I just say for those who might be struggling, you might have struggled in the past, you might be currently struggling. Look, just keep your head up. Eventually the storm has to pass and you will be able to push through it. My brother Joseph is a prime example of perseverance. He overcame some things that a lot of people would not overcome in his particular situation. So he's just another example of what can happen and what God can do in your life and the things God will move around in your life in order for you to be successful. So with that being said, I want to, again, thank Joseph for coming on. We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do this again, Joseph. I don't know what it's gonna be. We need to set it up. We're going into the new year. I know a lot of people want to buy houses, so we might need to tap in early quarter of next year. But for those of you watching, I appreciate the support. We're gonna keep on rocking out because I feel like Joseph said, I wholeheartedly feel like this is my purpose, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon unless the Lord says something different. But other than that, until next time, I invite you guys to join and check out the next episode of Real Talk with Marcus McCoy. But until then, El Paso, it has been real.
Take care, guys.